Hey, and welcome to Board with Life News for August 19th. Today I'm going to talk about Cryptozoic partnering with GameStop, an expansion for Theseus, the Dark Orbit, the Star Trek game that's going to be based on Mage Knight, as well as the Kickstarter for Dingos Dreams. Let's get to it. Hey, I'm Chris. Welcome to Board with Life News. Up first, Cryptozoic announced a partnership with GameStop. This means that Cryptozoic is going to be selling a bunch of their games inside GameStop. It makes a lot of sense because Cryptozoic works mostly in licensed games, so there's, for crossover of casual game fans or people that maybe don't know about modern board games, they're obviously more likely to pick up a licensed game. It's good to get video game fans into board games and kind of introduce them to that, but a lot of Cryptozoic's games aren't that great, so it's kind of But Spyfall is going to be one of the games that's going to be sold in stores, and Spyfall is really great, so that's good news on that front. So yeah, it's good to see the industry growing, and also people outside of the industry seeing that board games are a viable way of making money, so that's all good news. Portal Games announced an expansion for Theseus, the Dark Orbit. It's going to be called Hunters. This is co-designed by the original designer of Theseus, the Dark Orbit, as well as a fan of the game. That Portal does this occasionally, where a fan will have an interesting idea or like a fan-made expansion, and then they'll just pick it up, basically. They'll hire the person to make the expansion. I know Nirishima Hex had like a fan-made expansion that was really popular, so they just went, we'll just produce that. So that's pretty cool of Portal Games to do. I think it's pretty interesting, because really, hardcore fans of your game probably know your game better than anyone, so it's not a bad idea. And now, news that everybody's excited about. WizKids announced that they're going to be making Star Trek Frontiers, and this is going to be based on Mage Knight by Vlaada Chvátil, which is an incredibly well-liked game, a incredibly popular game. In Star Trek Frontiers, it's going to be not just a retheme, it's going to have slight mechanic changes, but at its core, it's going to be Mage Knight. And it's going to have you exploring different areas that kind of change each time you play. There's going to be both cooperative and competitive scenarios that you can play, so that's good and interesting. And this is, assuming it's half of what Mage Knight is, it's going to be a really great themed game, so that's good news. The Kickstarter this week is for Dingos Dreams. This is a light 2 to 4 player tile placement game coming out by Red Raven Games. It's got fantastic artwork by Ryan Locat. I never know how to pronounce his name. He's also designed City of Iron as well as The Ancient World, and he's done artwork for those. He's one of my favorite artists working, especially in the Kickstarter realm. In the game, you play as animals that have lost their way on their walkabouts through Australia, so that's definitely an interesting theme, and you're trying to, I think, shift tiles in a kind of like puzzle tile mechanic in order to find your way home. So that's a cool theme. I'm excited about that. It is $15 right now on Kickstarter, and on that Kickstarter, they also have the second printing of City of Iron, which was a very popular Kickstarter game from a couple years back, so if you're interested in that, you can grab that copy. Alright, that's the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure that you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and check out both of our podcasts, both Board with Life Radio, which is us playing Dungeons & Dragons, and Houses and Humans, which is other cool people in the industry playing indie RPGs. This week's question comes from @DanielSolace via Twitter, and he asks, as we approach Spiel this year, what are some games from last year's Spiel that you still enjoy? I was looking at it, and I just somebody had made a Board Game Geek list of like games that got released at Spiel, and I was looking through it, and I was actually surprised. There are quite a few that I am still quite fond of. Definitely Castle of Mad King Ludwig. I like that game a lot. It's kind of the perfect level of strategy and depth for casual play. I like it a lot. I like Deus. La Isla, I think, is a very weird and interesting Feld game, and it's certainly not my favorite, but I still like playing it a lot. Patchwork by Uwe Rosenberg is one of my favorite two-player games. I really like that one. Pandemic the Cure is fantastic. I'm not a fan of the original Pandemic because I always quarterback co-op games, which I don't like doing, so I generally don't play like straight co-op games, but Pandemic the Cure, the introduction of the dice makes it way harder to quarterback, so I have a much better time playing that game, kind of sitting back and letting everybody do their thing. And Spyfall, I guess, came out at Spiel last year, and Spyfall is a fantastic party game and large group game that I'm very fond of. Alright, that's the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.